Thunderverse. Well. 2 years ago, I was working 2 jobs to support spending all my time at 2 bars with a nerd life that was going in and out of a coma. A year before that, I had to move back home from a place I was renting because the landlord's jailbird brother came a-calling, and I relied on others too much to make it right and not on myself to fight for what's mine. Going back to 2 years, I knew a change had to come, so I put in my 2 weeks at the night job and I went to go work with my friends at Dave & Buster's as a game tech. They brought me in and then a week later was like, oh, actually don't have a spot open. The fuck? But I wasn't going to tuck my tail between my legs and cancel my 2 weeks. I was going to take a leap of faith, dive into the unknown, and come out a champion. Of course, obviously none of this gets started without Dan as well, and I could never thank him enough. A fairly easy and sheltered life has kept the concept of persistence and survival foreign to me. Oh, but how I've become so familiar. With a little help of Mr. Raines and Miss Bliss and Miss Lynch. Sorry, Miss Man. And that's where this podcast was born. Thunder Talk slipped into a coma, so I took the actual daunting scenario of taking to the mic and the spotlight and throwing it on myself. Yeah, I thought about quitting once Thunder Talk got back on its feet for good, but I didn't. There's something in me that I can't deny that embraces showing up week in and week out to do the work. It caught the attention of the ESO Network, the same network that gives you Nerd Bliss and Thunder Talk and Best Saturdays of Our Lives as well. Ring of Thunder is now part of that very same network, with the same opportunities to grow like Thunder Talk, which is all I want, because if you're not growing, you're dying. I just wanted to thank them for this opportunity, because we're going to do great things together. Not as Adam 2 Jobs, not as Adam 2 Bars, but as sexy 2 shows. Lightning Lad, play my music.
You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
The following podcast is scheduled for one fall. Coming in at 195 pounds from Studio A, he is the reigning, defending, undisputed host of the Ring of Thunder, Sexy Thor! On Raw, Seth Rollins and Murphy came to the ring to blame the WWE Universe for Rey Mysterio's eye problems because it was us that created the Messiah. I know, I was there at the Greenville show when he was yelling at the universe and was like, what do you want from me? Aleister Black came out and was like, nah, you only have yourself to blame. Seth and Aleister had a match, Murphy being that X Factor as usual, though, so Aleister had Seth on the ropes with the black mass, but Seth got the stomp and the 1-2-3 in. Seth and Murphy then proceeded to rough up Aleister and slam his arm on the post and the announce table and essentially sacrifice it. An arm for an arm program for SummerSlam? R-Truth bumped into MVP and Bobby Lashley backstage and complimented MVP's replica United States Championship and didn't believe MVP was the champ. They invited him to the ring, and he declined and tried to leave, but got super kicked by Shelton Benjamin instead, and got the 1-2-3 to become new 24/7 champ. Then both champs and Lashley headed to the ring. MVP went on about being the new champ and the Hurt Business and all that, and name-dropped Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, who came out and have a third guy backing them up now. Fresh from the SmackDown hacker computer setup, we basically know it was him. Mustafa Ali is back and is a Raw superstar now. 6-man tag action concluded with Ali hitting MVP with a 450 and a pin for the win. Randy Orton's backstage, contemplating moments in time that make us who we are and having to punt kick friends in the face. Commentary had a Skype interview with Christian, who's not in a good place even weeks after his unsanctioned match with Randy, but he looks forward to Big Show knocking Randy's ass out cold. Ruby Riott defeated Peyton Royce, who was without Billie Kay for whatever reason. She was off doing business or whatever, and beat her straight up clean. and this was suggested and I guess booked by Ruby's new friend Bianca Belair. She's a good friend. She, Ruby, and Liv would just be quite awesome together, I would think. Street Profits defeated Angel Garza and Andrade in a non-title match, so that'll show them for interrupting Viking Profits' business. Bayley and Sasha Banks came out to justify the thievery of the Raw Women's Championship when the rightful champion Asuka came out with Kairi Sane and was marching down to go get her title when Stephanie McMahon appeared and said they both lost last week, and next week will be a Raw Women's Championship match to determine the rightful winner. Kairi Sane and Bayley got into their match afterwards, and Shayna Baszler was backstage watching with a vested interest in a shark-like way, apparently. Kairi countered the Bayley to belly into the most devastating move. You know the one. Surprise roll-up time. Had the Kabuki Warriors in celebration mode. I'm looking forward to this week's Recorder concert. Drew McIntyre came out to the ring to discuss his future past Dolph and is looking for a challenger for SummerSlam. And who else came out but Dolph Ziggler? He was going on about how close he was and how he finally saw fear in Drew's eyes, so Drew walked away and gave Dolph a headbutt before leaving the ring. Dolph bargained with Drew and is letting him pick the stipulation, so Drew accepted. And of course he won't reveal the stipulation until right before the match that's set to happen next week. Of course, Dolph pretty much threw more at Drew than the Avengers threw at Thanos. And you gave Drew the same set of rules he needed to beat Brock Lesnar in 5 minutes. So, this is just not looking good for you, pal. After a backstage promo of Big Show talking about tigers changing stripes, we finally get the Big Show, Randy Orton unsanctioned match. Big Show had the lead early on until Andrade and Angel Garza came in to help Randy, which is perfectly legal. Then the Viking Raiders came in, fought them off, and we didn't see them the rest of the match. It was just Big Show through a table, getting some chair action, and 2 RKOs later, then Randy pins him for the win. And as are the stripes of the Legend Killer, he delivered a punt kick to Big Show for the cherry on top.
You have 30 seconds to describe Thunder Talk.
It's pop culture.
With a twist.
It's music.
LGBTQ+.
And comedy.
Well, dark comedy.
It's nerd junk. It's comic books.
Video games.
Conventions.
Yeah, nerd junk.
And social commentary.
It's woke, yo.
Yeah, and nerd junk.
Woke nerd junk.
Thunder Talk is all over the place.
Every place you want to be.
Thunder Talk is a proud member of the ESO Network. Find us at thundertalk.org and download us on all podcast platforms.
Impact started with Chris Bay defeating Willie Mack in a Slammiversary rematch to retain the X Division Championship. The Good Brothers Gallows and Anderson came out to the ring to reflect on Slammiversary and officially make their declaration that they are here on Impact when Ace Austin and Madman Fulton came out demanding an apology, but all they got were fists and thrown out of the ring. Heath tried to get in like Rhino told him to, but he wasn't on the list. Security asked for his last name, and Heath said that he had one, but he can't use it anymore. Haha. WWE joke. Heath tried to call Rhino, but he was in the middle of a heated wager with Hernandez. Still. The tag match between Havoc and Nevaeh versus Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz ended in disqualification when Havoc had Kiera in position for a pile driver and Tasha hit Havoc with a steel chair, prompting the DQ. Didn't matter anyway, Havoc didn't let go and still hit the pile driver. This week, an Impact Plus moment of the week was from October 2016, when Eddie Edwards defeated Bobby Lashley by kicking out of one spear and interrupting the second one with a Boston Knee Party to win his first Impact World Championship. Rob Van Dam and Katie Forbes have made it official that they're back to being their usual selves and free from cancel culture. Which is cancelled. Irony. Rhino and Hernandez had a match over Rhino's half of the money, which ended almost immediately when Rhino gored Hernandez and got the pin. Hey, come on, how are you going to squash Hernandez like that? Eddie Edwards came out to the ring to establish himself as a fighting world champion who will defend the title each and every week when his possible first contender, Eric Young, came out. But after what he did to Rich Swann, all Eddie was interested in was giving Eric an ass whooping. TNA Heavyweight Champion Moose is not interested in the Impact World Championship, however. He also won't invite EC3 to challenge him for the title, but he hasn't challenged Falaba. A brief teaser that Brian Myers, aka WWE's Kurt Hawkins, has joined Impact. Knockout's #1 contender Kylie Ray met champion Deonna Purrazzo and almost got her arm ripped off because of it. Eddie's got his first challenger next week, Trey. Still the most intense stoner ever. Moose defeated Falaba to retain the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, then was attacked from behind by EC3. Gallows and Anderson were heading to their car when Ace Austin and Madman Fulton pulled up to talk shit as a distraction for Reno Scum to jump them from behind, but the Good Brothers fought them off. And so this one is odd. I think Rosemary and Johnny Bravo went to a vacation home and were making sexual cooking references like a pinch of rosemary and extra virgin olive oil, but the mood was crushed when Taya Valkyrie showed up. Rosemary decided to turn it into a whole party by teleporting in other members of the Impact roster, which starts a reality show starting next week called Wrestle House. Can't wait. In the main event, the Motor City Machine Guns have ended the North's year-plus reign and have become new Impact Tag Team Champions. And in a post-credits scene, it appears Heath has found his way to sneak in the door.
What will you do when your child asks?
What were Saturday morning cartoons?
What were Saturday morning cartoons? What's wrong with you?
Or will you handle it the right way?
Sit down, baby girl. Let me introduce you to my friend Mark McCrae.
Join Dan Klink and I on the Best Saturdays of Our Lives podcast as we take a unique behind-the-scenes look at the history and dynamics of animation with plenty of laughs along the way.
The Best Saturdays of Our Lives podcast is a proud member of the ESO Network.
NXT started with Keith Lee announcing he will be relinquishing the North American Championship and will only be NXT champion so as to provide others with the same opportunities he's had. General Manager William Regal then announced there will be a series of qualifying triple threat matches for a ladder match for the North American Championship at NXT TakeOver 30 on August 22nd. Dexter Lumis defeated Killian Dane by putting him to sleep in that Anaconda hold. Breezango defeated Everrise dressed as Canadian Mounties and apparently told Beth Phoenix that the beaver is the national animal and that all beavers should be treated with tenderness and compassion. You know damn well what they meant. Shotzi Blackheart defeated Aaliyah, then hopped in her tank and ran over Robert Stone's other foot, then got kicked in the face out of nowhere by Mercedes Martinez. Bronson Reed defeated Roderick Strong and Johnny Gargano, two former North American champions, to qualify for the North American Championship ladder match, so Strong and Gargano won't be two-time champs anytime soon. Timothy Thatcher stole the win from Oney Lorcan, who had Thatcher in a submission, but Lorcan had his shoulders down for the 3 count. Oops. Dominic Dijakovic and Karrion Kross finally went at it, and while Dijakovic had the early momentum, he was eventually knocked down behind the steel steps, or knocked out, that is, and Kross dragged him back in the ring and was torturing him until Keith Lee came out ringside. Keith was urging Dominic to submit, but Dom insisted on continuing to keep going as Kross was making Keith watch him torture his friend until he had enough and made Dominic pass out in the Kross jacket. He wanted Keith's attention. He absolutely has it.
Everyone these days could use a little support, and your friends at the ESO Network are no different. With the ESO Network Patreon, the cool thing is when you help support us, it's you who will benefit. With 4 tiers starting for as little as 25 cents a week, you can listen to some of your favorite network podcasts early, hear exclusive content, maybe get some ESO swag, or even possibly take a shot at the geek seat. All you need to do is sign up at patreon.com/ESO Network.
On AEW Dark, Hikaru Shida defeated Rache Chanel, Kip Sabian defeated Corey Hollis, Dustin Rhodes was training the Nightmare Sisters in the Jaguars indoor practice facility when Dasha came in for an interview and Brandy was talking about hopefully getting enough attention to build a women's tag division, and Allie was being hilariously antagonistic. Best Friends defeated Brady Pierce and Sabby, who's apparently a former NFL player whose name I can't remember. Ricky Starks defeated Will Hobbs. Scorpio Sky defeated Aaron Solo. Diamante defeated Kylan King. Darby Allin defeated Robert Anthony. Brian Cage and Ricky Starks are working together apparently under Taz as they powerbomb the shit out of Darby Allin. The Butcher and the Blade defeated Brandon Cutler and Peter Avalon, who are still winless in both tag and singles competition. On Dynamite, the first one that isn't named after one of their pay-per-views, Cody defended his TNT Championship against Eddie Kingston, an 18-year veteran of the Independents, in a no DQ match. Cody got hit in the balls and powerbombed into thumbtacks. Finally, he got Kingston in a figure four on top of the racks, and Kingston tapped out. MJF defeated Griff Garrison after Griff pointed out that MJF technically lost a tag match at Fyter Fest, so MJF beat him up till Griff said he was undefeated, then MJF finished him off. Another backstage promo of Britt Baker with her friends Tony Schiavone and Rebel with Rule 4, don't count out a role model, and compares herself to the great comebacks of sports history and Michael Jordan. Brian Cage and Taz came to the ring so Taz could explain that he threw in the towel last week because Brian Cage's surgically repaired bicep would have gotten torn a second time otherwise. Darby Allin interrupted but got jumped by Ricky Starks, and they were beating on Darby when Jon Moxley chased them off with a barbed wire Negan baseball bat. Sometime in the remainder of this summer, there will be a tournament called the Deadly Draw, which will feature 16 women in 8 teams competing for the Women's Tag Team Cup. The Young Bucks defeated the Butcher and the Blade in a Falls Count Anywhere match that actually started in a kitchen and went to the ring and ended with each of the Bucks diving off the 2 ring entrances and putting Butcher and Blade through tables. Diamante defeated Ivelisse with that surprise roll-up inside cradle that's getting to be quite devastating in and of itself. Hangman Page defeated Alan Angels, aka 5 of the Dark Order. Then Brody Lee came out and offered Page a spot in the Dark Order as well. Page said he's not ready to join a cult yet, so Brody Lee sicked his goons on him until FTR chased them off. Page's tag partner Kenny Omega was a bit late to the party, but FTR was there with the assists, the handshake, and the beer. Chris Jericho and Jake Hager defeated Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus thanks to the seemingly random aid of Serpentico. After the match, the Inner Circle and Serpentico gave Jurassic Express a bit of a beating, and then Serpentico unmasked himself for the reveal. Sammy Guevara. This reveal and reunion continued in the beatings of Jurassic Express until Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends showed up to chase them off.
Hello. Have you ever wondered how much Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster sold Superman's rights to DC for? Or which popular football star was the Sam Wilson the Falcons' physical appearance based on? You can find all that and more at the History of Comic Books podcast, a podcast dedicated to the creators, events, history, and the companies that made the great comic book medium. Hosted and created by your friendly neighborhood JT Wheatley. Please give it a listen at iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, and all our podcasting platforms. Thank you, and go ahead and enjoy yourself a good comic book.
This Greatest Hits episode of NXT UK started with a match from December 5th, 2018, of Fabian Aichner defeating Mark Andrews after Andrews was fresh off taking then Cruiserweight champion Buddy Murphy, when you could call him Buddy, and Aichner had just claimed a victory over Johnny Gargano. This was several months before Imperium, so there was good sportsmanship between the two men. The next one was from November 28th, 2019. Piper Niven defeated Jenny, putting her and Jazzy Gabbert behind her finally, and getting on the road to the NXT UK Women's Championship opportunity. And then Bomber Dave Mastiff defeating Eddie Dennis on December 12th, 2018, just ahead of the first ever TakeOver Blackpool. SmackDown started with Sasha Banks and Bayley in the ring. Someone keep count of how many times I've said that this summer. Showing off their gold and their greatness and all of that when Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss came out because Nikki was cheated out of her opportunity at Extreme Rules when she took those boss knuckles to the ribs. Bayley said she'll give her another shot, but she has to face Alexa in a match, and the winner will face Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship next week. Alexa was trying to be the prevailing cooler head, but Nikki was fired up and pushed Alexa down when she wouldn't. Not cool. And who made Bayley a general manager anyway? But good match that ended with Nikki winning by rolling Alexa in an inside cradle roll-up and earning another opportunity at the SmackDown Women's Championship. Looks like Bliss Cross Applesauce could be no more yet. Also, a new rivalry between Nikki and Alexa that's far from over. At least that's what the negative Nancys would say as they hugged it out after the commercial break. But if Nikki loses next week, she might actually lose her shit. Stay tuned! A highly new anticipated episode of Firefly Funhouse was next, with a recap of the swamp fight and Bray Wyatt back in the Funhouse, and didn't exactly assure us that Braun's alright, just that the swamp is 100% organic. His lantern apparently has the essence of OG Bray, and was whispering that he wanted to be let out, but Firefly Funhouse Bray said he had his chance, and now the Fiend is unleashed. We only got a little taste here, but there's more to come as we get to SummerSlam. Matt Riddle defeated Tony Nese, then called out King Corbin, who suggested he go back to NXT for more seasoning, or 205 Live to be a top guy there. He also put out a king's ransom for anyone who can prove that Riddle doesn't belong, which Nese tried to take him up on, but just ended up getting kicked in the head by Riddle instead. Miz and Morrison had Naomi as their guest for Miz TV, but not before John Morrison was trying to make up hashtags for himself, and they've created a rating system of how sick something makes you by number of vomiting Seth Rollins. Oh, jeez. They had Naomi on because after her loss last Friday, fans started a hashtag of hashtag Naomi deserves better, because that's damn true after what she's done over the past decade. Miz and Morrison were antagonizing her a bit because that's what they do, and they brought out a surprise guest, Lacey Evans. Lacey got in the ring and was talking shit while applying lipstick, so Naomi hit her and the lipstick went way off course. Then she got out of the ring all in a huff. By the way, Miz and Morrison antagonizing Naomi made her so sick, she rated it 5 vomiting Seth Rollins. 5! Kofi Kingston is apparently going to be out 6 weeks after being put through 2 tables, landing at ringside at Extreme Rules, so Kofi told Big E, speaking of 5, that he and Xavier Woods want E, still speaking of 5, to take this time to go on the singles run he deserves. Finally, we had the bar fight between Jeff Hardy and Sheamus. Started with the usual brawl at the bar. Jeff threw the basketballs from the game at Sheamus. The fight moved to the restroom. Jeff got a face full of flushing urinal. Sheamus got Irish whipped into a stall. Jeff got the ladder out of the maintenance closet. The two brawled in the dining area. Jeff got a twist of fate on Sheamus and moved him into position by the ladder. The bartender tried to attack Jeff because this was the same bartender that Jeff had attacked during his toast. But the bartender got powerbombed through the table. Sheamus hit Jeff from behind with a chair and put his hat on the face of an unconscious Jeff. He got a pint, then removed the hat, which revealed a super Jeff with face paint and wide eyes. I believe it might be Willow from Jeff's TNA era. I don't know. But anyway, super kick Jeff Willow person knocked Sheamus around and swanton bombed him from the ladder and got the 1-2-3. Jeff's eyes returned to normal and he left the bar and his demons behind. On 205 Live, Drake Maverick defeated Leon Ruff in his return to 205 Live as an in-ring competitor after being the brand's general manager for so long. First time we saw him in competition on this brand since he whooped Mike Kanellis' ass in an Anything Goes match over a year ago, if I remember correctly. And then it ended with 6-man tag action as Mansoor, Oni Lorcan, and Danny Burch defeated Tahuti Miles and Everrise. And that's the 1-2-3. Thanks for locking up with me in the Ring of Thunder. Kick butts, not nuts, and enjoy this world premiere of my commercial. Also hear world premiere in your head like that voice that plays in trailers at E3 press conferences. You know the one. Enjoy. The next evolutionary leap in the Thunderverse has arrived. The Ring of Thunder is a whole week's wrestling in a half hour.
What?
The Ring of Thunder is a whole week's wrestling in a half hour.
What?
Every show.
What?
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 You come up around here wedding in sexy Thor's yard like he's anything but the hammer swinging, burrito eating, mic blazing, marking out but never tapping out Lord of Thunder, like you would do anything but sit down, open your ears, and take in the Ring of Thunder wherever you find your podcasts like you would find any other podcasts in the Thunderverse or the ESO Network.
The This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping through Amazon.com or the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.